Jaya Radha Kala Chandri Radha Kala Chandri Radhe. Jaya Jagannatha Jaya Jagannatha Jaya Baladeva Jaya Subhadra. Jaya Jaya Prabhupada 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 Jaya Jaya Prabhupada. Oh, yes. Yeah. Mm-hmm. I think we're going to need a microphone. Hare Krishna. Good morning, devotees. My name is Manjari Gopika Devidasi, and today we will be reading from the Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 7, Chapter 11, entitled The Perfect Society for Social Classes. We will read aloud verses 30 through 35, and then we'll come back and we'll focus on verse 35. Before I begin, I ask for your blessings that I may speak something pleasing to my spiritual master, to Srila Prabhupada, and to all of the devotees. Let us all together chant the invocation prayers. Narayanam namaskritya naram chaiva narottamam devim sarvasvatim vyasyam tato jayam udirayet nashta prayeshva bhadreshu nityam bhagavata sevaya bhagavati uttamashloke bhaktir bhavati naishtaki. Om Jnana Timirandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshurum Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Adwaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaura Bhaktavinda. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. All right, yes. So our Drishtadyumna Prabhu is so nicely putting these verses on the board so that we can all read them aloud. So again, Canto 7, Chapter 11, we'll read the translations of verses 30 through 35, and then we'll come back to verse 35. So whoever has the microphone, if you could start and read text 30, and then move it to the next person, and so on until we finish these 5 verses.
Among the mixed classes known as Sankara, those who are not thieves are known as Anteveshai or Chandalas, dog eaters. They also have their hereditary customs.
My dear King, Brahmanas, well conversant in Vedic knowledge, have given their verdict that in every age, yuga, the conduct of different sections of people according to the material modes of nature is auspicious both in this life and after death.
Text 32. If one acts in his profession according to his position in the modes of nature and gradually gives up these activities, he attains the nishkama state.
Text 30 and 34. My dear King, if an agricultural field is cultivated again and again, the power of its production decreases, and whatever seeds are sown there are lost. Just as drops of ghee on a fire never extinguish the fire, but a flood of ghee will. Similarly, overindulgence in lusty desires mitigates such desires entirely.
If one shows the symptoms of being a Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishya or Shudra, as described above, if he has appeared in a different class, he should be accepted according to those symptoms of classification.
Thank you. Now we'll open up text 35 and just should have done a recap a second ago, but for those of us who haven't been hearing these classes in this series for the past week, this is a conversation between Narada Muni and Maharaj Yudhisthira. Maharaj Yudhisthira is asking him various questions, specifically about one who's interested in advancing in spiritual life. So in this chapter, which we're finishing today, Narada Muni is talking about the 4 social classes within the Varnashram system. Okay, we'll do the Sanskrit for text 35. Yasya ya lakshanam proktam pumsam varna bhivyanjakam yad anyatrapi drishyeta tatanaiva vinirdishet. Please chant. Yasya ya lakshanam proktam Varna bhivyanjakam yadanyatrapti drishyeta tataneva vinirdishet. Yasya ya lakshanam proktam Varna bhivyanjakam yadanyatrapi drishyeta tataneva vinirdishet. Yasya ya lakshanam proktam Varna bhivyanjakam yatanyatrapi drishyeta tataneva vinirdishet. Yasya ya lakshanam proktam Varna bhivyanjakam yadanyatrapi drishyeta tataneva vinirdishet. Anyone else? All right, then we'll move on to the synonyms. We have them on the board here, so we can just say them together. Yasya, of whom. Yat, which. Lakshanam, symptom. Proktam, described above. Pumsa, of a person. Varna avyanjakam, indicating the classification, Brahmin, Kshatriya, Vaishya, Shudra, etc. Yet, if anyatra, elsewhere, api, also, drishyeta, is seen, tat, that, tena, by that symptom, eva, certainly, vinirdisyet, one should designate. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. If one shows the symptoms of being a Brahmin, Kshatriya, Vaishya, or Shudra as described above, even if he has appeared in a different class, he should be accepted according to those symptoms of classification. Purport. Herein, it is clearly stated by Narada Muni that one should not be accepted as a Brahmin, Kshatriya, Vaishya, or Shudra according to birth. For although this is going on now, it is not accepted by the Shastras. As stated in Bhagavad Gita 4.13, Chaturvarnyam maya shrishtam guna karma vibhagashaha. Thus, the four divisions of society, Brahmin, Kshatriya, Vaishya, and Shudra, are to be ascertained according to qualities and activities. If one was born in a Brahmin family and has acquired the Brahminical qualifications, he is to be accepted as a Brahmin. Otherwise, he should be considered a Brahma Bandhu. Similarly, if a Shudra acquires the qualities of a Brahmin, although he was born in a Shudra family, he is not a Shudra because he has developed the qualities of a Brahmin and he should be accepted as a Brahmin. The Krishna consciousness movement is meant to develop these Brahminical qualities. Regardless of the community in which one was born, if one develops the qualities of a Brahmin, he should be accepted as a Brahmin, and then he may be offered the order of sannyas. Unless one is qualified in terms of the Brahminical symptoms, one cannot take sannyas. In designating a person a Brahmin, Kshatriya, Vaishya, or Shudra, birth is not the essential symptom. This understanding is very important. Herein, Narada Muni distinctly says that one may be accepted according to the caste of his birth if he has the corresponding qualifications, but otherwise he should not. One who has attained the qualifications of a Brahmin, regardless of where he was born, should be accepted as a Brahmin. Similarly, if one has developed the qualities of a Shudra or a Chandal, regardless of where he was born, he should be accepted in terms of those symptoms. Thus end the Bhaktivedanta purports of the 7th canto, 11th chapter of the Srimad Bhagavatam, entitled The Perfect Society for Social Classes. Jai Srila Prabhupada. One of those, as for Nayananda Das Goswami Maharaj described Prabhupada's purports. He said this in the class he gave on Wednesday. He said his purports are world-changing. This is definitely one of those purports where I feel very foolish trying to elaborate at all after the fact because everything is there. But I will do my best to repeat some things that I have heard on this topic in line with what Srila Prabhupada is telling us. So this verse, as Prabhupada mentions in the purport, is very important. And we may even, one might even say it's as socially radical as it is spiritually essential. Of course, it's not radical because we know it's truth. But in today's day and age, this is a topic that could maybe be jarring to certain people. But yes, as Narada Muni says, I'll read it again. Narada Muni says, if one shows the symptoms of being a Brahmin, Kshatriya, Vaishya, or Shudra, as described above, even if he has appeared in a different class, he should be accepted according to those symptoms of classification. This is a direct rejection of caste by birth ideology. Srila Prabhupada's purport makes it clear. Although judging by birth is going on now, it is not accepted by the Shastras. It has never been accepted by Shastra. And in his purport, he quotes Bhagavad Gita 4.13, Chaturvanyam maya shrishtam guna karma vibhagashaha. The four, this is Krishna speaking, where he says, the four divisions of society are created by me according to qualities and work. not birth, not family name, but qualities and activities. And this is not some minor footnote in our tradition, but this was really a battle cry of our acharyas. Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur openly defied the caste system, in particular the Smarta Brahmin caste, and he was attacked. He was several times threatened with death, came very physically close to being attacked a couple of times for initiating disciples from non-Brahmin castes, for giving sannyas to those who were not born as Brahmins, and for asserting what this verse plainly declares, that Brahmins are made by character, not bloodline. Srila Prabhupada, his disciple, was just as fearless. Once Prabhupada was at a Pandal program, and they did question and answer at the end, and one of the audience members asked him, can you show me a miracle? And of course, what this person was looking for is some exhibition of mystic cities, which I don't know if it's still so common in India, but at least at that time there were people who could, snap their fingers and smoke could come out or whatever. So the person had listened to this lecture but was like, I just want to see a miracle, show me a miracle. And when asked to perform a miracle, Prabhupada didn't produce gold or ashes from his palms. He pointed to his Western disciples and he said, this is my miracle. I have made Malechas and Yavanas into Vaishnavas. And this is not sentiment. It is a measurable transformation from uncontrolled, meat-eating, materially absorbed Westerners into Brahminical devotees with peaceful minds, regulated senses, and lives centered around Krishna. Prabhupada often repeated what Narada Muni says in the 6th canto, Janmana Jayate Shudra. Everyone is born a Shudra. Even if your father is a Brahmin, you are not automatically one. Through samskar, one becomes Dvija, twice born. From there, if one develops the qualities of a Brahmin, one may be accepted as such. I have heard this analogy. Just because your father is a doctor when you are born, does it mean you are a doctor? You have to go through the same training and trials and effort to become a doctor. But if one develops the qualities of a Brahmin, one may be accepted as such. So what are those qualities? They are explained in the scriptures in a couple of different places. In the Muktaphala Tika, a Brahmin must exhibit the following: mental equilibrium, sense control, austerity, cleanliness, tolerance, simplicity, detachment, theoretical and practical knowledge, satisfaction, truthfulness, and firm faith in the Vedas. These are not inherited qualities. These are cultivated through practice, humility, and guidance from a spiritual master, a bona fide spiritual master. And these qualities are very pleasing to Krishna. He favors those who strive for spiritual realization and depend on him for everything. This truth of Brahman by qualities isn't just found in scripture, it's alive in our movement. I often remember something that was spoken at His Holiness Giriraj Swami Maharaj's 2023 Vyasa Puja. Hridayananda Das Goswami Maharaj offered a remembrance, and His Holiness Hridayananda Das Goswami Maharaj explained that he and Giriraj Swami met when they were both brahmacharis in the Boston Temple in the late 1960s. Very, very early days of the movement. And His Holiness Hridayananda Das Goswami Maharaj explained that Giriraj Swami was gentle, humble, kind, and everyone loved him. And he said that Giriraj Swami was by far the best book distributor in the temple. And he said at that time, Boston was one of the largest temples. They had a lot of devotees. But Giriraj Swami was the best. And Hridayananda Maharaj said he used to watch Giriraj Swami go on Sankirtan book distribution in the Boston Commons. And he said nearly every person bought a book from him. Nearly every single person Giriraj Swami approached took a book from him. And Hridayananda Maharaj said, just for contrast, nearly no one bought a book from me. There was something special about this Giriraj Swami. So then in the early 1970s, when Prabhupada announced his plans to spread ISKCON into India, he selected some disciples to go with him. Among those chosen was His Holiness Giriraj Swami Maharaj. And Hridayananda Swami explained that Giriraj Swami was extremely useful to Srila Prabhupada in India, because Giriraj Swami had the gentle manners and characteristics needed to convince the important people of India at that time that our movement was producing real sadhus, because Giriraj Swami was a real sadhu. Although he had a Western body, he had the Brahminical qualities that Indians recognized and respected immediately. And he became famous throughout ISKCON for making the most life members in India. So this proves the verse in action. But even attaining Brahminical qualities, even attaining the status of Brahmin is not the end. As Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita 7.19, Bahunam janmanan ante jnanavam mam prapadyante. After many, many lifetimes, one who is actually in knowledge surrenders unto me. That surrender is the real goal. Because even if one has these other Brahminical qualities, if he doesn't surrender to Krishna, he is still lacking. Prahlad Maharaj says in the 7th canto, chapter 9, verse 10, that if a Brahmin has all 12 Brahminical qualifications but is not a devotee, he is lower than a devotee who is a dog eater but who has dedicated everything, minds, words, activities, wealth, and life to the Supreme Lord. And there's a purport to Canto 3, chapter 33, verse 6, that it echoes this truth, where Prabhupada says, taking birth in the family of a Brahmin is certainly due to pious activities in one's past life. But still, a child born in such a family depends on reformatory processes like initiation and the sacred thread. But one who chants the holy name of the Lord, even if born in a family of Chandalas, requires no such reformation. Simply by chanting Hare Krishna, they become purified and as qualified as the most learned Brahmin. These verses emphasize a powerful spiritual point. Spiritual qualification is not determined by birth, but by one's qualities, character, and devotion to Lord Krishna. And it's why Lord Chaitanya chose Srila Haridas Thakur, born in a Muslim family, to be the Namacharya, the teacher of the holy name. The person that Lord Chaitanya personally selected to be our Namacharya was born in an untouchable outcast family. Lord Chaitanya could have given that position to so many of the learned caste Brahmins that were following him. There were many. But he chose Srila Haridas Thakur. And our acharyas explain it is because he wanted to show the world the power of the chanting of the holy name, and that one should be classified according to their qualities, not simply one's birth. Srila Haridas Thakur was condemned by Hindus and Muslims alike. The Hindus did not want to claim him. The Muslims did not want to claim him. And a caste Brahmin once accused him of polluting the sacred mantras because he was chanting loudly everywhere. And the Brahmin said, these sacred mantras should be chanted silently in your heart. You are desecrating our religion. Srila Haridas Thakur calmly responded with Shastric evidence, explaining that loud chanting not only delivers the chanter, but everyone who hears. He quoted the Bhagavatam, the Puranas, the Upanishads, and the Brahmin was overcome by ego and snapped, "Just see, in Kali Yuga, outcasts will teach religion to the Brahmins." Haridas Thakur simply smiled and walked away. Yet, despite everything he endured, his ostracization from every little section of society, Srila Haridas Thakur never stopped chanting, teaching us being our namacharya. And the scriptures confirm the power of this chanting. In the 6th canto, it is clearly stated, one who chants the holy name, even jokingly, indirectly, or neglectfully, is freed from the reactions of unlimited sins. And in the 3rd canto, chapter 33, verses 6 and 7, it is stated, even a dog eater becomes eligible to perform Vedic sacrifices if they chant the name of the Lord. So, Lord Chaitanya selected Srila Haridas Thakur as the Acharya for our Nam Sankirtan, not as a gesture, but to make a statement, what the Shastras have confirmed all along, that birth is irrelevant. And we see this also in the elsewhere in the Chaitanya Charitamrita. The most elevated dialogue in the Chaitanya Charitamrita takes place between Mahaprabhu and Ramananda Roy, who is considered by birth to be a Shudra. Lord Chaitanya goes to Ramananda Roy to ask him all these questions, to get the deepest esoteric knowledge of bhakti. And Ramananda Roy resists. He even says, I'm not fit to speak to you. I'm low-born. But Mahaprabhu insists. He says, no, Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya told me to hear from you. And then the Lord himself quietly sits and listens as Ramananda Roy speaks the highest truths of Rasa Tattva. In Kali Yuga, everyone is born a Shudra. And these convoluted, complicated systems of elevation that you can find in the Vedas, of samskars, yajna, study, austerities, they're almost inaccessible for us. But we have one asset. Harinam, Harinam, Harinam eva kevalam kalau nastyeva, nastyeva, nastyeva gatir anyata. And there is no other way. And that is why bhakti, centered on the holy name, is the true purifier. How did Srila Prabhupada come to the West and make Brahmins out of Malechas? Simply through the purifying power of Sankirtan. As Srila Haridas Thakur says in Antya-lila 3, even the faintest utterance of the name without offense eradicates sinful reactions like the sunrise dispels night. And as seen in the story of Ajamil in the 6th canto, even chanting the name Narayan accidentally at the time of death was enough to free him from being sent to hell. So then what can be said of one who chants with faith, devotion, and guidance from a spiritual master? And this is the unparalleled power of the holy name and of our movement. It does not depend on one's birth, education, or past deeds. It is purely transcendental and accessible to everyone. I mean, look who's giving class right now. The holy name, when received through the mercy of a pure devotee like Srila Prabhupada, it carries the full potency of Krishna himself. It can cleanse the deepest impurities from the heart and awaken the dormant love of God that resides in every soul. This transformation, turning Srila Prabhupada's transformation of turning materialistic, rebellious individuals into joyful, gentle Brahmins, is the greatest miracle, far surpassing any temporary display of mystic power. It proves that the holy name is the ultimate benediction for humanity, capable of delivering the highest spiritual perfection to all who take shelter of it. Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Those are my thoughts on this verse. Would love to hear thoughts, questions, corrections from those present here. Lalita Sundari.
Thank you for nice class, Mataji, as usual. I guess maybe it's a naive question, I don't know. I'm just curious why when Krishna created these 4 classes, why not make birth natural to these 4 classes? Why people are mixed up? They have symptoms of, suppose, a Brahmana, but they're born in some other class. So why this confusion? Why he made it so complicated? It could have been more straightforward. Somebody in the previous life has the inclination or the consciousness of Brahmana and been born in. Usually we also see in Bhagavad Gita, like we take the next body based on our consciousness. So it could have been more straightforward. I don't know why it's made so complicated.
That's a really brilliant question. Never really thought of it that way before, so I'll have Gokulananda answer. But as you mentioned, the laws of karma are very intricate and complex. And so I think the laws of karma have to be in place. So for every action, there's an equal and corresponding reaction. So as you mentioned, then past, and Prabhupada even says in the purport, or one of the purports I read, that past pious deeds can have you take birth in a Brahmin family. I would imagine taking birth in a Brahmin family, that's a big bonus. You will get access to people, information, rituals, worship that someone born in a Shudra family would not. But then it's up to you to take that farther. Just like we have free will, things are predestined in a way, but our choices really are what will transform our character and our destination. Gokulananda Prabhu, can you speak to that?
Hare Krishna. My understanding is, in 3rd chapter of Bhagavad Gita, Yajna has been explained as the prescribed duty. And prescribed duties come from Guru Sadhu Shastra. So, Samsiddhir Haritoshanam Varnashram aims at satisfying Lord Vishnu. How? Because in Varnashram, as per the qualities that one has acquired from the modes of material nature, one is engaged in Krishna consciousness, one is strict to be engaged in Krishna consciousness because they are following the prescribed duties mentioned in those particular ashramas as per the varnas. And as we all know, there are different shades of modes of material nature. It's not, it's not that one is clearly or 100% in goodness, 100% in passion, and 100% in ignorance. So predominantly, someone who is in goodness, is categorized as Brahmana, and so on and so forth. So in today's day and age, the Varnashram that we have is Asuri Varnashram, and that's the reason we see chaos everywhere. Whereas in Daivi Varnashram, which is the goal, the souls who are born in the society are primarily following all the samskaras, including the Garbhadan samskaras. More or less everyone follows in that particular society the samskaras, and that's how those particular karmana deva nitrena, those particular souls are attracted to the womb. And then we see that those who are born, even birth is so important in that case, because those who are born in Brahmin family, they are naturally Brahmins. And those who are born in Kshatriya family, they are naturally Kshatriyas. So many times we see in Ramayana and Mahabharata, it is described, and how the birth is also important factor in the Varnashram system, because all the samskaras followed. But today it is Asuri Varnashram, and everything is chaotic. Everyone has acquired all mixed sort of material modes, and as she explained, everyone is born as a Shudra in Kali Yuga, Kalo Shudra Sambhava, right? So that's my understanding. And that's the reason we see there is so much chaos. Otherwise, if you analyze from Krishna's perspective, everything is designed so perfectly. You know, he wants to engage everyone as per their qualities and the activities in Krishna consciousness. So that every soul is elevated gradually in their consciousness. That's my understanding.
Thank you.
I have one more comment and question.
You're not going to ask me a question.
Comment is, in Brahma Vaivarta Purana, there is this verse, Rakshasim Asritya, Rakshasim Kalim Asritya Jayante Brahmaneshu. Those demons who were spared by Lord Krishna in Dwapar Yuga, most of them, not all of them I'm saying, most of them were born in Brahmin families in Kali Yuga. That's the verse. So I consider myself to be falling into one of those categories. That's the comment. And the question is, if you can scroll up to text number 34, where Narad Muni says in that verse, the famous verse, my dear king, if an agricultural field is cultivated again and again, the power of its production decreases, and whatever seeds are sown there are lost. Just as drops of ghee on a fire never extinguish the fire, but a flood of ghee will similarly, overindulgence in lusty desires, mitigate such desires entirely.
Okay, I just read the purport.
So this appears to be contradictory to what Krishna says in 3rd chapter of Bhagavad Gita. Avritam jnanametena jnanino nitya kamarupena kaunte dushpurena anilena cha. Just like, I'm just paraphrasing. When the ghee is poured into the fire is ablaze more and more. So this is apparently there is a contradiction. How do you understand this? Because in India, everyone knows there was this Rajneesh fellow who had started this movement, in Hindi they say Sambhog se Samadhi. When you overindulge into, gratifying your lusty desires, then you enter into trance. Osho Rajneesh, that's his name. So how do we understand this, the contradiction?
Well, I'm going to read from the purport, and then we'll see. So Srila Prabhupada says, he talks about the whole analogy of sprinkling ghee on fire, and but if one suddenly puts a lump of ghee, the fire may possibly be extinguished entirely. Is that what he says here? I'm just going to read the whole thing. Then he says, similarly, those who are too sinful and have thus been born in the lower classes are allowed to enjoy sinful activities fully, for there is a chance that these activities will become detestful to them, and they will get the opportunity to be purified. So what I'm hearing is that this is limited to those born into a lower class who don't know better and are just imitating what they see. And after a certain amount of time, Prabhupada is saying, there's a chance that they'll say, I'm still not happy. And these people around me, they're not happy either. Maybe I should exit this circle and seek something else.
Makes sense.
Mr. Jumna Prabhu.
Hare Krishna. I thought it was interesting you mentioned Haridas Thakur and Lord Chaitanya was glorifying the power of the holy name. In that, and also the miracle of Srila Prabhupada transforming his Western disciples. I wanted to kind of know how we can kind of see the power of the holy name in our life, because sometimes it feels like we've been chanting and the same issues come up that were there 4 years ago. The same anarthas are still there, still the kind of the same situations, and yeah, maybe how can we experience the holy name purifying us more, recognize it more?
Well, I'm certainly not an expert, but I think we will always find anarthas within ourselves. I think it's good that we are always finding anarthas in ourselves. If we think that we're getting A++ in bhakti, there's probably a real problem there. We should always be reflective. Of course, I don't know how, I can speak for myself, I don't know how many rounds that I chant are attentive. But I actually was thinking to myself recently, it's just a personal thing. I was like, it took me so long to get a taste for hearing the way that I have it now, by the mercy of Prabhupada and my spiritual master. That could go again, right, through offenses. And I was thinking to myself, why is that? I feel like it took me like 8 years, maybe less than that, like 6 years to really want to hear Bhagavatam every day. I was okay with like once a week. Anyway, but then I started thinking, I was like, well, maybe it had to do with the fact that how many rounds were so inattentive. Like chanting inattentively, it has an effect. The holy name is purifying, but it takes a long time. And Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur explains that, and I think it's Harinam Chitamani. It has an effect, but it takes a long time. So I think the strictness in our chanting and our sadhana is what we'll see results more quickly. But also, it might be helpful to have others in our lives that are on the bhakti path who perhaps can recognize changes in you that you cannot see. Perhaps it's possible that you are changing and growing, and some of your, lower behaviors have fallen away. Those are what came to my mind. Anyone else want to share on that?
Your answer was really good, and I'd just like to add what just came to my mind. It is said anartha nivritti is the longest phase in practicing bhakti, right? So it's going to take a lot of time. And from our perspective, we are just looking into one lifetime, which is like going to bed and then next day morning waking up. So we think, when we go to bed, it is finished, everything is finished. If that is compared to death, we think it's all finished. But from Krishna's perspective, from the time immemorial, these activities are going on, and now the fan has been switched off, but it will just keep rotating for some time and it will stop. And another thing that I remembered was His Holiness Radhana Swami in his lecture, one time he mentioned this, just like Lord Ram kept shooting the arrows at Ravana, and he kept chopping off his heads one after another, and they keep popping up. So these anarthas are like Ravana's heads, they keep popping up until he shot an arrow at the root where the nectar was hidden. So similarly, right now, I can talk about myself, my chanting is so inattentive and there is not even namabhas. Only when I'll be able to reach at namabhas, that one holy name is enough to destroy all the anarthas. And then we can actually, it's like opening the lid of the honey bottle and then relish. So till then, this will just keep going on and on. And that said, still, even inattentive chanting, Padma Puran says is beneficial and it's destroying, it's acting. We're not able to see, just like the hair growth, we're not able to see. It's going on right now, but in due course of time, it manifests. It's like that.
Yes, thank you. I just remembered something His Holiness Radhana Swami Maharaj said in a lecture. He said that sometimes people wonder, why am I not seeing any results from these devotional practice? So sometimes after many years of practicing, people say, why am I doing this? And they leave. In Kali Yuga, we want things fast and cheap. No one wants to cook anymore. As devotees, we're definitely an anomaly, but I could tell you, if you're not a devotee, nobody wants to cook anymore. We want to heat up, people want to heat up frozen food. They want to order food from an app, from a restaurant, press a button, boom, the food is on its way to you. But in Kali Yuga, we have no qualifications. We have no good qualities. We have nothing to offer Krishna. So the minimum we can offer is one entire lifetime. There is no fast and cheap way to Krishna. So it's reasonable to assume that it will take us one entire lifetime to perfect our chanting and purify our hearts. Minimum. So if you think of it that way, you're not so far behind. What do you think, Drishtadyumna Prabhu? Any other thoughts or concerns? Well, and then before I close, there's one, I just remembered, going back to Gira Swami, there's one thing that I forgot to mention that I just think is nice, because it's always nice to glorify a pure devotee of the Lord. So in relation to what I was saying with what a talented isn't the right word, but just his amazing ability to make life members and to distribute books because of his pure devotional qualities. Srila Prabhupada said, Giriraj can befriend any man, become his son, and take his money. So all glories to His Holiness Giriraj Swami Maharaj. All glories to the disciples of Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki, Srimad Bhagavatam ki,